Hello, hi guys, welcome to the Two Docs Podcast. I'm Dr. Ellie here.
And I'm Dr. Ingky, and welcome to the podcast. Two medical doctors generally speak on a lot of things which are non-medical.
Generally.
Generally. A lot of world ideas, worldly ideas.
Sometimes controversial.
Yes.
But the last 2 months, we've been doing some medical ones. Quite interesting.
Yes.
I think the ones we talk about sexual health was a very eye-opener. If you guys want to check it out, go back into a couple of our episodes. By the way, we are already hitting 132 episodes this time.
That's a lot of episodes, really. It means we're almost 2 years plus.
2 years plus. We're going to hit 3 years soon.
Oh man.
Right, this week, we're going to be talking about something quite fun. Entitlement complex.
Okay, what is entitlement complex?
Entitlement complex is a condition. I don't think it's in the ICD-10 yet, but perhaps they should, so sooner or later.
Okay.
Where someone feels that they are entitled to something more than what they deserve.
Okay, all right. So basically, entitlement means that you believe you deserve certain things.
Yes, you believe you deserve something.
Okay. All right. But entitlement complex means that you believe you deserve it, but you don't actually deserve it, or do you actually deserve it?
You don't actually deserve it.
So you don't actually deserve it, but you feel like you actually deserve it.
You feel you strongly and argumentatively want it.
Okay. Now, I've seen a lot of people on the internet, right? Who love to voice out their opinions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then generally on the internet these days, they're actually called Karens. All right,
Karens.
So, Karens.
Okay.
There's actually a name for them, and majority of them are actually females. I don't know why. So, but they can be male Karens as well.
I do feel sorry for the real Karens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they feel that they are entitled to a lot of things, right? That are available in front of them, but a lot of times they don't deserve it. Right. So when you mention about entitlement complex, right? What does it actually, what are the signs of entitlement complex?
Well, there's a couple of things that fall into it, although there has not been a criteria that fulfills it. But basically, a person who believes strongly that they are entitled or they want something so badly that they are willing to argue over it. Second part is if they feel that their opinion supersedes someone else's opinion, and also if they are willing to go that extra mile just to embarrass anyone else.
Okay.
Because they feel it's their right.
Okay.
One of the things with entitlement is that they confuse it with their own personal right.
Okay. Okay. So a lot of times when entitlement complex comes out, it means that their rights supersedes the rights of the people
Others
around them.
them.
Yes. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So
Correct.
now I understand. Yeah. So basically, it's not equal. They're not fighting for equal rights.
No.
They're fighting for superior rights.
Superior rights.
Okay. Superiority.
Now, it's fun that you mentioned about Karen.
Okay.
And do you remember? I think back about a year ago.
Okay.
There was a Karen in the Twin Towers.
There was a Karen in the mask issue.
The mask issue.
Yes.
The mask issue. So
Yes.
she felt her entitlement or her right as a human was not to wear masks,
Yes.
to go shopping, and to
Alright.
enter a shop.
Alright.
Even though clearly during that time, the rules of the MCO still requires you to do so.
Yeah. So for those who are a little bit confused, right? Roughly about a year ago in 2021, mask wearing was
Still mandatory
in Malaysia.
Yes.
Right. Especially if you're in public, you want to enter any establishment, all right, whether it's a public or private establishment, you need to wear a mask.
Correct. The only time you don't need to is if you are out exercising out in the open.
Yes, correct. So there was this particular woman who said that it was within her rights not to wear a mask.
Not to wear a mask.
Not to wear a mask, even when she was in a private establishment or when she was walking in public.
Correct.
All right, and she said that it violates her
human rights. Her human
right?
rights.
Even though it was actually a law in Malaysia that you have to wear a mask, otherwise you
could get fined.
You could get fined,
and jail.
or jail time.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So during that time, she even made a big fuss because she recorded the whole incident.
Yes. So she recorded the incident. She recorded the other person who kindly asked her to wear a mask.
Asked her.
They didn't force her.
Yes.
They didn't like shout vulgarities at her. They kindly asked her to wear a mask. And
Otherwise, they have a right of refusal.
right to refuse it and the right to remove you from their establishment.
Correct. Yet she filmed the whole incident Then she published the whole incident.
Yes.
And then she make a big fuss.
Yes.
So these kind of behavior, what would you rate it as? Entitlement or just plain selfishness?
I would say it's entitlement. Number one is, of course, it's selfish lah. You know, she values her rights over other people's health. All right, because at the time we were still in the peak of the pandemic. You know, people were dying every day. You know, people were getting sick every day. And of course, one of the ways to protect the people around you is just by simple, just wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
It doesn't kill you to actually wear a face mask, right?
Correct.
Right. But she said that, you know, her right supersedes the health of everyone else. All right. Hence, she felt that, hey, you know what? I'm selfish. I have the right to be selfish.
I'm not selfish.
No, I have no. Really.
I'm not selfish. She doesn't have. She's not selfish.
She's not
Other
selfish.
people are selfish because they want her to do something that's not.
Okay.
So entitlement, I think, falls in that sphere whereby they don't feel they're selfish. They perhaps feel other people are being selfish to impose something onto them or not giving them something which they feel they rightfully deserve.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of something, right? It kind of reminds me, it's a mild overlap of something called God's complex.
God's complex.
God's
Tell me
complex.
more about God's
So
complex.
something about God's complex is there is this feeling of superiority.
Superiority.
Yeah, it means you feel superior above other human beings.
All right.
So it is definitely not the entire God's complex, all right? But there is a mild God's complex, right? There's a mild overlap. I give an example of a God's complex, right? A lot of people say doctors have God's complex because we dictate
we heal.
Yes, we treat, we heal, and somehow we dictate who lives and who dies. Right? So there's like an overlap of responsibility of a doctor and God. So a lot of doctors do carry that particular superiority complex with them. So I have a feeling this also kind of overlaps. You know, the entitlement complex kind of overlaps with the God's complex, whereby they feel that their rights are more superior and they far exceed the rights of the people around them. So God's complex is actually, if not mistaken, it's under another name lah. But it's part of the ICD-10.
That was ICD-10.
That means it's actually a medical diagnosis, which can warrant someone to be locked up,
Institutionalized.
institutionalized in the psychiatric
or
hospital.
require treatment.
Yes,
or
require treatment, or require continuous treatment. So they will come a time and
Entitlement complex will also fall inside there. You know, sub-segment of it.
Then I tell you, then the psychiatrists will be super busy, man. Psychiatrists and psychologists will have tons of people knocking on their doors.
Do you think psychiatrists have some God complex? Because they decide you are.
Well, to be honest, most psychiatrists that I know don't have that. They actually have the other way.
The other way around.
the other way. Most of them are actually depressed. Most psychiatrists I know are actually depressed.
Okay, fun fact. I got into med school, right, thinking that I was going to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah, because you want to prescribe yourself anti-anxiety pills.
Yeah. I wanted to be happy too, so get some happy pills, you know. All right. Entitlement complex. It's not just about those things that goes about, but I think it is catching on as quite what do you call that? An unconscious trend. More and more people are exhibiting entitlement behavior, especially with more social media reach, where TikTok, Instagram, or anything that allows you to voice out much strongly and have a mass of people responding or giving you a response. So I think more and more people exhibit this kind of behavior whereby they like to bring their personal issues into the foray of public sphere.
Yeah, and you are actually right, because social media actually amplifies it, and especially the fact that once you put on social media and that particular person actually gets support from other people.
Correct.
So it actually encouraged this particular entitlement complex. So it means that now they say, hey, you know what? Yes, I demanded something and I have support for it. Hence, there is a reinforcement, whether it's a positive or negative reinforcement. It reinforces the fact that, hey, my entitlement, it's not selfish, right? It's
a collective voice.
It's a collective voice, and it's right and is rightfully demanded.
And sometimes they even feel that they are leading the cause of an issue, or championing a voice that other people are keeping silent. Now, what do you think causes entitlement?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I would say entitlement really would come from their background, how number one, how they were brought up, and how they are treated on a daily basis. So basically, if on a regular basis they are always praised and they are always given their way,
Always right.
you know, they're never, or they're rarely corrected. Hence, it kind of enforces their entitlement complex. All right, so that's my opinion.
I have a similar opinion also. It's a bit like a child. So if a child says, I want to do something, even if it's wrong, but if let's say the parents say, it's okay, just let him do it, you know, it doesn't harm. So they continue doing it even though it's wrong. So rather than teaching them what is right, they allow it to do until they get bored of it. I think that very simple act of allowing them to do till they get bored or learn their own ways. So some people may learn the lesson, some people don't. Then it just gets reinforced as I can do whatever I want. No one's going to stop me. I choose not to do when I don't feel like doing. So in the meantime, whatever I feel like doing is right. Why? My parents never say it's wrong. My friends didn't say it's wrong. And I've been going about. So my way is the right way.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and it's not only your parents or your family, and you did mention, you know, sometimes it's your friends, it's the people around you. Your friends sometimes don't have the courage to correct you. Instead, they say, hey, you know what, that's your right, you should go for it, you you do it. You do you.
You do you, I do me.
Yeah, you do you, I do me, and that's, you know, that is your right. Or it could also be your spouse or one of your loved ones around you, you know, whereby they give this particular reinforcement whereby you think that now it's within your own right to actually demand for something which you do not rightfully deserve.
Now, do you find this more and more in the workforce?
I would say I find it more and more, not in the workforce, but within the workforce. I wouldn't say workforce, I would say within social media, but not particularly like the TikToks and all. I find it within LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn people are overly positive. That's the one thing I found, because they're overly positive.
Toxic positivity.
Because you're so positive, and then you encourage the next person, say, hey, you know, whatever they mention, nobody actually criticizes. That the one thing I actually dislike about LinkedIn is no one actually criticizes the next person. Right?
Really?
Yes. People say, hey, you know, I support you. I agree.
All right.
All right. Okay. And hence, it kind of built up this particular culture whereby positivity, it's a norm. It's good. However, some people might feel that, you know, they're entitled to certain things. So I'm not sure, but I think if you say in the workforce whether it's there or not, in my limited experience in the private or public workforce, I would say there is no entitlement complex.
No major ones.
We were screwed on a daily basis.
That's us. We were
pummeled on a daily basis. You know? It's like there's no such thing as entitlement. You feel entitled, right? Someone will be there to put you at the right place.
Set you straight.
People better be there to set you straight.
How about the phenomena? You know, I do see or do hear some stories whereby, you know, the younger workforce, when they come in, not happy, parents come in. What do you call that?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that is
not so much entitlement.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's not so much entitlement. I would say that one is just pampered, right? Right. I would say the parents are just overprotective. All right. Yeah, the parents are just overprotective. You know, as parents, you shouldn't be there. All right. But have you heard about this one whereby this person texted a headhunter? All right, I think it happened in Singapore. So it was on WhatsApp.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about.
All right, and then the headhunter could not respond in time because, of course, you know, the headhunter was actually busy working. And then on the other side of the line, the person
the job
was
seeker.
actually the job seeker that was asking for the job was being very rude and said, hey, you know, you should answer me within a couple of minutes. You know, everything that I want, you should respond to it. And yeah, I felt that was the entitlement issue, whereby the job seeker seeking for a job felt it was within her rights, or his or her rights to request the headhunter to respond immediately
because that's their job.
Yes, because it's your job.
It's your job.
Yeah, it's your job. And now I'm kind of like I'm paying you to actually do your job.
I think similar behavior also gets exhibited. People go into the service industry and they say, hey, do you know I pay your salary?
Oh yeah.
I pay your salary,
Yeah,
like a waiter, or even in government, we get it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, they put the doctor down and say, do you know we pay your salary?
Yeah. So there's this saying, customers always right.
Mm.
Actually, yeah. So to be honest, right, a majority of the time customers are wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, customers do pay the salary or do fund the business to actually carry on. But there are a lot of times whereby the demands are just over the top, lah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just an entitled. It's generally an entitlement. All right. So there's that entitlement complex.
So if you guys have met anyone, or if you have an example of being subjected to being abused by someone with an entitlement complex, drop us a line.
Yep.
Let us know, what is it that made you feel little, or have you yourself in one time in your life? Share with us your experience about what you may have done, and how did you overcome and be a better person today. Because I think a lot of us perhaps at some point may have made a bit of an entitlement statement, or example of ourselves at some point. I would say I've done it before.
I would say all of us have done it. And, sometimes it's done unconsciously or subconsciously.
Correct.
Right.
But the whole thing is that you have to grow out of it. You need to know what is it all about, how does other people feel and respond towards it, and how you want to be better in future. Because at the end of the day, nobody really likes someone with this entitlement.
Correct.
It's not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice to be around. And to be honest, especially when you are demanding for certain things, it's actually quite embarrassing for the people around you.
Oh yeah.
It can be actually very embarrassing for your family members, for your loved ones around you, for your friends as well. And it's quite embarrassing for even the establishment that you're in. The people around there can actually feel a little bit embarrassed. This person's shouting.
Yeah. I think another example is someone with let's say certain positions.
Oh yes.
Certain positions, certain titles. Remember we talk about
we talk about titles in the past.
Certainly, do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am? Do you know I can get you fired in the blink of an eye? Do you know I know this particular person? Yeah, those are also part of entitlement.
Sometimes it's very difficult to deal with these people, because when they say, "Do you know who I am?"
Yes,
I don't know who you are.
Obviously, I do not know who you are. If I knew
Obviously,
who
you're not that famous.
If I knew who you are, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Right. Maybe we're not on the same level, but in the meantime, I don't know really who you are. So anyway, entitlement complex, drop us a line if you have any comments and experience about it. We will be back next week with a different topic. We are going to be talking about what next week?
About 100 hours to become an expert.
100 hours to be an expert.
You just need 100 hours to become an expert.
What happened to that 10,000 hours thing?
You'd be surprised.
If you want to know more, stay tuned next week, episode 132. Until then, we're signing off. Dr. Ellie here, to Honor to Docs.
And Dr. Inky, have a good weekend.